We'll get right to it. Our honored guest tonight is presidential candidate Governor Gary Johnson. He was governor, Republican governor of New Mexico from 1994 to 1983. In 1989, he actually climbed Mount Everest and got to the top. If you go on YouTube, there's a 6-part series, 10 minutes each obviously, where you can watch his ascent to Mount Everest. It's pretty inspiring. Also, he actually was a handyman, owned a handyman business, started it in college to get him through college. Today, it's one of the largest construction companies in New Mexico and employs over 1,000 people. And it's on the business side for him. As governor from 1994 to 83, he vetoed over 750 bills. They used to call him Governor Veto as his nickname over in New Mexico. But he's a really cool guy. I hear you guys a Harley. I think I read that somewhere. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you the former governor of New Mexico, presidential candidate, Governor Gary Johnson.
I'll have to correct a lot of what was said. So I am a classical liberal. And if you Wikipedia classical liberal, what you're going to find is that a classical liberal is somebody who believes in less government, period. A classical liberal is someone who believes that the best thing that government can do for you and I is to empower you and I to be all that we can be as individuals. I am running for President of the United States. I'm running for the Republican nomination for President of the United States. And I'm just going to make my pitch here. I did start... I think I bring a unique perspective to this job. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I started a one-man handyman business in Albuquerque in 1974 and actually grew it to employ over 1,000 people in 1994. I sold the business in 99, nobody lost their job, and they're doing better than ever. I'm also an athlete. I think you want somebody in this job that is disciplined, sets goals, and in that context, I did climb Mount Everest. I think you want somebody in this job that can hunker down, that can do what it takes to get the job done. I think the President of the United States, the job of being President of the United States is really a lousy job, and it's just time that somebody actually does that job. So I am making 3 promises as President of the United States, and I will tell you that I made very few promises running for governor of New Mexico, but I kept all of them. But here are my 3 promises running for President of the United States. I promise to submit a balanced budget to Congress in the year 2013. I promise to veto expenditures that exceed revenue. And if you think that maybe I don't have the wherewithal or whatever to do that, this may be an embellishment, but I may have vetoed more bills than the other 49 governors in the country combined. I vetoed 750 bills while I was governor of New Mexico, and thousands of line items. And really, it made a difference when it came to billions of dollars worth of spending. It made a difference when it came to what government was going to say could or couldn't happen in our own personal lives. I vetoed that kind of stuff. So, with those 2 things, promising to submit a balanced budget to Congress, promising to veto legislation where expenses exceed revenue, you might say, well, Congress will just override. I suggest to you that they may override, but I suggest to you that spending under the scenario that I just described will be less than any other scenario that you could possibly imagine. The last thing that I'm promising to do is to advocate throwing out the entire federal tax system and replacing it with the fair tax, which If you're not familiar with the fair tax, get online, check it out, fairtax.org. It is, as the name implies, it's fair. Those that make more money will end up paying more fair tax. It does away with the income tax. It does away with business tax. It does away with corporate tax. It does away with the IRS. So, in an environment, in a business environment with zero corporate tax, why would the private sector not create and would create tens of millions of jobs in this country by the private sector with a zero corporate tax rate environment? It's what would happen. Back to a balanced budget. Balanced budget is a 43% reduction in government spending. That means Medicaid and Medicare. Medicaid and Medicare. I oversaw the reform of Medicaid in the state of New Mexico. Health care to the poor. What we did is we set up a managed care network in contrast to fee-for-service. We saved a lot of money, a whole lot of money, and we delivered health care in a better way. I believe that if the federal government would have block granted me, the governor of New Mexico, the state of New Mexico, 43% less money for the delivery of health care to the poor, that I could have overseen that successfully. I believe that same thing could apply to Medicare, where if the federal government were to block grant the states Medicare without strings, without any mandates, that I could oversee, that I could have overseen the delivery of health care to those over 65 in the state of New Mexico. Give Medicaid and Medicare back to the states, 50 laboratories of innovation, 50 laboratories of best practice, and that's exactly what you'd have. That's how we're going to fix this. Social Security. It's not cutting Social Security. No cuts to Social Security. Social Security, very simply, is a system that needs to take in more money than what it pays out, and to do that without raising taxes, and by the way, if you implement fair tax, none of this applies, but raise the retirement age, means testing, which can be very fair and would have to be very fair, changing the escalator built into Social Security from the wage index to the inflation rate, and then making it optional that we could self-direct our Social Security funds. That fixes Social Security. And by the way, under the fair tax, as an employee, you no longer have to pay Social Security. It will come out of the fair tax. Your employer no longer has to match Social Security. That will come out of the fair tax. So whatever you make right now as a paycheck, you'll get that full paycheck if we implement the fair tax. And then the military. Let's cut the military by 43%. And the operative question is can we provide a strong national defense for this country and still cut the military by 43%? And yes, we can. The operative word being defense as opposed to offense, as opposed to nation building. So ending the conflicts that we're currently engaged in, reducing nuclear warheads from 2,300 to 500. Do we need to blow up the world 9 times, or might 5 times do? I think 5 times might do it. So military spending is part of this. Believing in free markets. Believing in free market reform to healthcare, believing in free market when it comes to education, abolishing the Federal Department of Education. Give education back to the states. 50 laboratories of innovation and best practice, and that's exactly what you would end up having, is just that. I'm running for President of the United States. I think the job at hand is really difficult. It's going to involve mutual sacrifice on the part of all of us. I believe I'm the guy that can oversee this. I believe I'm the guy that can make this happen. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with all of you this evening, and I just look forward to seeing this through. I appreciate all of your activism. every one of you. I know that you take the time to understand what's being said. You take the time to understand the issues, and others look to you for guidance on the issues of the day. And I applaud you all for that, and thank you for this opportunity this evening. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for coming out tonight. Really do appreciate it. I know Governor Johnson has to hop on a plane here out to New Hampshire here pretty soon. But the best thing I think you can do for him is, he hasn't been in all the debates. You can help him out by contacting CNN, Fox News, the ACGOP, and let them know they want to see Gary Johnson in the debates in the future here. So I'd like to thank Scottsdale Knights, Gia Ella, the business experts, as well as the Mint for hosting us tonight. We really appreciate it. Appreciate Governor Johnson coming out, and all of our good friends who are here tonight. Go ahead and hang out. We'll turn back up the music, and